I grew up in Slaughterville, Oklahoma. I know it sounds like something out of a cliché horror movie, but believe me, it's real, and it's not real fun. One of my favorite and only things I would do growing up was visiting Circus World. I think my parents felt kind of bad about how they treated me sometimes, so as often as they possibly could, they would take me to that circus. I guess it was just an easy way for them to make everything alright. I know it's kind of embarrassing, but when I would leave the circus, I would start to cry. Every damn time. I wasn't even that young either. I guess it was sort of my happy place, and as soon as it was over, I knew I was going back to that monotonous household with parents who were normally not the nicest to me. That's to put it lightly. As I grew older, I kind of forgot about it, but when I was taking a semester off from college, I heard it was still there, abandoned, from a couple locals. Out of boredom, and a need to get out of my parents' house, I decided to go explore the place and see if I could snag any good photos of the old landscape. As I approached the edge of the property, I couldn't help but feel a sense of trepidation about what lay inside. The once vibrant and bustling circus was now a haunting and ominous sight, with overgrown weeds and rusted gates. I pushed past the gates, and as I entered the main seating area, it seemed as if time had stood still. Rows of empty seats surrounded a worn-out ring, and peeling posters from long-forgotten acts hung from the wall. The only sound was the eerie creaking of an old tent swaying in the gentle breeze. As I walked further, I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was not alone. The silence was deafening, and my every step seemed to echo like thunder. For some reason, I suddenly felt almost serene, like everything in my life had somehow led me to that moment. I heard a faint whisper, soft but unmistakable. Looked around, but nobody was there. My heart began to race as I realized something sinister may be lurking in the darkness. Suddenly, a beam of light illuminated in front of me, and 3 clowns emerged from the shadows. They wore tattered costumes, and their faces were painted with garish and menacing smiles. I immediately turned to run, but they were too fast for me. The clowns began gaining, their laughter echoing through the deserted halls of the circus. They appeared and disappeared like phantoms, stalking me in every shadow and corner. I ran through a maze of corridors, but no matter where I turned, the clowns were always there, grinning and sneering. I could feel their breath on my neck, their cold and clammy skin sending shivers down my spine. I heard a sound behind me, and knew they were closing in for the kill. Abruptly, I saw a door, and without a second thought, I opened it, slamming it shut behind me. I found myself in a room filled with clown costumes and makeup, and at first, I thought I had finally found refuge. But as my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I saw that the clowns were surrounding me on all sides, their bright and sinister smiles creeping closer and closer. I was trapped, and then with a final blood-curdling scream, I was consumed by the darkness. When I regained consciousness, I was lying on the cold, hard ground. My head ached, and I could feel bruises all over my body. I was alone, but I could still hear the reverberations of laughter in the distance. I knew that I had to find a way out of there, so I stumbled to my feet, my body groaning in protest, and began to make my way through an old mirror maze. I moved slowly, trying to be as quiet as possible. I didn't want to attract the attention of the clowns. As I walked, my mind began to fill with questions. Who were these clowns? Why were they in this abandoned circus? I suddenly reached a dead end and saw them again, standing in front of me. their bright and maniacal smiles still plastered across their faces. Thousands of them, repeating off in all directions throughout the mirrors. I couldn't tell which clowns were the real ones and which were the mirror ones. As I looked into their faces, I began to notice their paint starting to droop and deform. One began to resemble the face of my father. He started laughing, growing louder and louder, but not at me. He was pointing at one of the other smaller clowns. The smaller clown was trying to ride a bike, but couldn't get up onto it. He looked at me with sadness in his eyes, a sadness I could almost recognize. Then another clown, this one resembling my mother, began sobbing uncontrollably, echoing throughout the building. Almost like she was crying at how pathetic the smaller clown was. Mortified, I tried running out. Luckily, I could dodge mirror after mirror, almost like I had done that maze 1,000 times. To be honest, I probably had as a kid and just forgot about it. I started to see their faces floating in the mirrors, fluctuating around me, staring intently.
Why did you leave us for so long, Tommy? We've been waiting for you. We've missed you.
Tons of people used to go to the circus. I didn't know why they would remember me in particular. Then I turned and saw the smaller clown. He looked like me trying to ride a bike and was way behind in the distance. He looked like he needed my help. The other clowns had forgotten about him. For some reason, I wanted nothing more than to go into the mirrors and help him. Then suddenly, I must have hit one of them face first, because everything went black. I woke up in a hospital bed with a concussion. It had been a day since I had last seen the clowns, apparently. I was found a couple hours after the incident by someone who was passing by Circus World, walking their dog, and saw my car outside. I still don't know who those clowns were, or what they wanted with me. But the weird thing is, ever since that event, I've had this strange affinity for clowns. It's like I see one in a store or in a movie, and I'm just transfixed. It wasn't too long after that I started doing the makeup and wearing clown clothes everywhere I went. I developed a unique laugh and learned how to create balloon animals. I've also started going back to that abandoned circus. I find myself standing in there for hours, or sometimes days, waiting for someone or something. I'm not sure how long it will take or who it will be, but as soon as I see them, I will know. Then I'll know who comes next.